What's up guys, my name is Matthew and today we are doing my mid-year freakout. Alright, I'm not really sure what we're freaking out about, but I'm excited and I'm here to do this tag. This is one of my favorite tags to watch other people do, and this is the first year that I get to actually do it because I started BookTube right after like the mid-year point, so I didn't get to do it last year. But I have the typical questions. I added a few of my own because I tend to do that with these tags. I take it, make it my own. But for the most part, they're the typical questions that you see on everyone else's videos. This year I have read 45 books so far, which is a lot for me because last year I read 70 books and this year I'm trying to get to 100. I think I'm on track. I'm in like an abusive relationship with my Goodreads tracker. Anyone else feel that? Where, you know, that bitch likes to tell me that I'm 2 behind, 1 behind. It's like, girl, calm down. She's keeping me on track. I'm on track to hit 100. I've read some really good books this year. I've read some really bad books this year. Let's break it down. Also, like, this ring light is making my skin look so good. My mom will watch these videos and be like, did you get Botox? And I'm like, no girl, it's called a ring light. But if you want to pay for my Botox, I will accept it. But yes, let's get started. I'm just in a mood today, so just get ready for all of the sassiness. Gordo's here. Gordo, he's ready to knock down the ring light. First question, best book you've read so far in 2022? This one really wasn't that hard for me. Stop it. I instantly knew the answer, and it is going to be Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I started Karen Slaughter this year. I was sleeping on her. If you're one of those people who keeps hearing about Karen Slaughter and you haven't picked up any of her books yet, this is your sign. It is time to pick up a Karen Slaughter book. If you like thriller books, if you like dark books that'll make you feel like you're reading something you probably shouldn't be reading, pick up Karen Slaughter. This book is so fucked up, I don't even want to get into it. In this video, I'm not gonna describe every book, but this is definitely my favorite book so far this year. It came out like years ago, so this isn't like a new release, but this deals with everything triggering, everything awful. The plot in this book is just gut-wrenching and terrible, and I loved it. What does that say about me? Well, a lot. All right. So yes, this is the best book I've read this year, and I think it's like some of most people's favorite books they've ever read. Okay, so my next prompt, I do not think that it's on the regular book tag, is Biggest Letdown. And if you just watched my Song of Achilles vlog, you're probably gonna think I'm gonna say that book, but I actually have a different answer, and it's gonna be Shiver. Now, did I think this book was bad? No, I gave it 3 stars. The reason I am saying it's my biggest letdown is because it follows my favorite trope in a thriller book, but I didn't have a great time. If you're new to my channel, my favorite trope is you're dealing with a group of friends and part of the book is flashing back to when these group of friends were all together and something tragic happens. And then we're in the present, and in the present, these group of friends are coming back together in kind of a reunion or any kind of situation, and they realize, wait, what happened 10 years ago might not actually have gone down like we said we did. Is that person actually the murderer? Is one of us lying? That's my favorite trope. I know that's a lot of words. I wish there was one word to sum that all up, but that's my favorite trope. And this book follows that trope, but I just did not connect with the characters. I was pretty bored. I ended up giving it 3 stars. So reason it's my biggest letdown is because it's my favorite trope, so it should have been easy for this book to impress me, but it let me down. So yeah, this is my biggest letdown. I don't even think that was one of the tags, but let's, we're gonna be negative and say mean things too. All right, let's see, what's next? Oh, worst book I read. I also don't know which, I made my own list, so some of these are not gonna be from the regular book tag, and I don't even know which ones I've added, so there's that. Worst book I read. That is easy. This is the only 1 star I think I gave. Oh, I already unhauled it, so I can't even hold it up for you. It's called A House at the Bottom of the Lake. It's a novella. It's one of those books that's a hit or miss. Some people are like, this book was amazing, and then the rest of us are like, this book was shit. What do you like about it? It's like, I don't know if it's a horror or it's like fantastical, where this couple is on a date and then they find a house that's at the bottom of a lake and they go explore the house. It was fucking dumb. Okay, and fight me in the comments. I did not like it and I don't understand the hype with it. So that is definitely by far my biggest, worst, least favorite book I've read so far this year. And it's probably gonna be in my top 3 at least of all time because I thoroughly didn't like it. The only plus is that it was a very short book, so I didn't have to waste too much time on it. All right, the next prompt is best sequel you've read in 2022. I really haven't read that many sequels. I tried to read House of Sky and Breath. If you're waiting for my check-in, I am still on page 160. I have zero desire to pick this up. This is I don't know. I'm sure I will get to this once the third book gets announced, I get excited to read the third book, but right now I have zero desire to read this. So this isn't my answer. The only other sequel I read the whole Heartstopper series, and my favorite Heartstopper volume is definitely Heartstopper Volume 3. I'm not gonna tell you why, except that they go on a field trip type thing. I just loved it. And if you have not read the Heartstopper series, graphic novel series, or watch the show, you better get on that because they're so adorable. But yeah, this is probably my favorite sequel. It's the third installment. I think a fifth installment's coming out. I've read all of the Heartstopper, even the 2 novellas, and I think this one's my favorite out of all of them. So yeah, I don't really read that many sequels, or I do, but just not this year, so my answer is gonna be this. All right, the next prompt is a book that is a new release book that I haven't read yet. And for this one, it's definitely gonna be Notes on an Execution. I have heard only good things about this from some of my favorite booktubers, and it's having great reviews on Goodreads. All I know about this book is that it's following a guy on death row, and we're in his brain, we're figuring out what he did, and who he affected, who he killed, and we're also getting chapters from some of the women in his life and how he has affected his women. I could be totally lying. That's what I think the book is about, but I heard it's fantastic. I'm gonna probably read this in the next few weeks, so be expecting a review on that. But yeah, this is definitely one that I am looking forward to. It just seems like a cool premise, and it's getting good reviews, so hopefully it doesn't flop for me. All right, next question is, what book am I most looking forward to in the second half of 2022? That is an easy one for me. It is definitely The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. If you're new here, I talk about her book, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, probably in every video. I think people are sick and tired of me talking about it at this point, but she was definitely one of my favorite authors from 2021, and this is her newest thriller. It's following a cult where this girl in college was in a cult, and she escaped the cult, but she finds out one of her friends was randomly murdered, and she thinks someone in the cult was involved, or maybe she was still in the cult, and she follows this girl who's working on a podcast that follows kind of weird culty situations or random murders. So they work together to kind of figure out what happened to this girl, what's all the deal with the cult. I haven't read that many books about cults, so I don't know what to expect. I don't know if this is gonna be my trope, if I like it, but Ashley Winstead, I trust her because she's fantastic. I have called and talked to everyone I can to get a freaking advance copy of this book, and no one will give it to me. And it's really ticking me off. Everyone's already read it, and I'm the one who's most looking forward to it, and no one will send it to me. I'm not bitter. The publisher ghosted me. It's okay. It's still in my Amazon pre-order, and I'm gonna read it, and I'm so excited because I love Ashley Winstead. Also read her romance book that came out in May, I believe. Also liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars. Ashley Winstead is one to watch. She is a fantastic writer. But yeah, definitely looking forward to The Last Housewife. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. The next question is, what book was the biggest surprise for you? And I'm definitely gonna go with The Boys Club by Erica Katz. Not because I went into this book thinking I was gonna dislike it, but I didn't really know much. I just knew it was about a young woman who was starting at a big prestigious law firm, and just her journey in a law firm. So I kind of went into it being like, oh, I'm a lawyer, this should be interesting, but not really expecting anything. And if you watched my last few videos, this book blew me away. It was fantastic. I think I finished it in 1 or 2 days because I was so engrossed in the story, and the writing style was so good. It's the best book I've ever read set in a law firm with realistic of what it's like to work in a law firm and just kind of the politics of law firm life. So yeah, this book blew me away. I ended up giving it 5 stars. Biggest surprise, not because I thought it was bad, but because it was freaking good. I wasn't expecting much. And that's the best when you're reading a book and you just pick it up, you're like, oh, let's go for it. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is one of my favorite books of all time. It's a very nice surprise. So some authors, you're like, oh, this is my favorite author. I'm expecting it to be awesome, but then you'll pick up a random book and be like, wait, this book was amazing. Why haven't more people been suggesting it? So if you're looking for a book that will likely blow you away, The Boys Club. It shocked me, and it's hard to shock me. Who is my favorite new author of 2022? I know I talk about Karen Slaughter, so she's probably one of them, but who I'm gonna go with is Jennifer Hillier. I just raved about her book, Jar of Hearts, that I read last month, 5 stars. 2 nights ago, I finished Little Secrets, which is another one of her books, and I think I gave it 4.5 stars, still deciding on my rating. But I've been sleeping on this author, and I think a lot of you have too. I love her writing style. She's so good at writing characters. I will read anything she puts out. She had a book of the month that came out this month. I think it's Things We Do in the Dark. Is that what it's called? But it's sitting on my nightstand, so I will get to that one really soon. But yeah, an author that I have not heard that much about on BookTube, maybe I'm just not watching the right BookTubers. She's probably my favorite author of 2022, outside of Karen Slaughter. But I feel like Karen Slaughter is such a duh. Like, why haven't I read Karen Slaughter before? But yeah, I'm gonna go with Jennifer Hillier, and I'm gonna keep on reading what she's putting out. And if you have not picked up a Jennifer Hillier book, start with Jar of Hearts, and Little Secrets was also pretty freaking good too. The next prompt is, who is my fictional crush of 2022? And I looked at my Goodreads, just like all the books, and just kind of going over the characters. And I'm gonna be honest, there is not a single character I've read this year that I have a crush on. That being said, I have not read a bunch of romance books. I've read mostly thrillers. I really can't give you an answer as for a guy. So I decided I'm gonna tell you my girl crush that I have this year, who I thought was a badass, and I thought she was a sexy in her own boss-ass bitch, and that is Scarlett from They Never Learn. She's a serial killer, so I don't know what that says about me, that my crush is a serial killer, but I think she's a boss-ass bitch. So I'm gonna say, for this answer, my girl crush is definitely Scarlett from They Never Learn. As for men, like, I really didn't like anyone this year. It's the same for my personal life too. That's probably something I should unpack. I mean, there's been characters in the past that I've had big crushes on, but for 2022, I have not encountered a male character that did anything for me, like literally anything. So sorry if that's upsetting and not exciting. I wish I had a better answer for you, but we're gonna go with the serial killer Scarlett from They Never Learn. What book made me cry in 2022? Again, I pulled up my Goodreads and looked at all the books. I did not cry for a single book this year. There's only a handful of books I've ever cried about. I'm gonna try to release a video. It's gonna be very short, but just the books that actually like made me cry. It's hard to make me cry. Like if you make me cry, that's very impressive. I'm off the top of my head, I can only think of 3 books that have actually made me cry. To answer this question, I will tell you that there is a book that the end, some people are gonna see my answer to this and be like, are you okay? But the ending of this book made me really emotional, and it was so messed up. But it was the drama and just the complication of the situation, like and just how the characters were affected in the end, that really like made me emotional. I did not cry, and that's Jar of Hearts. And you're probably like, Matthew, are you for real? That ending was so fucked up. It was so fucked up. So much happened, and I felt for all the characters and just all what they went through, and I can't give you too much information without spoiling the ending of the book, but it really did move me in the sense where I'm like, wow, these people were really, really messed up by something that happened a long time ago, and it's really affected them. So my answer for this, I did not cry, but I thought the ending moved me in a way that like made me feel bad for all of them, and just realized, God, that like sucks. So yeah, that's my answer. I will try to release a video of my 3 books that made me cry. It's gonna be like a 2-minute long video, and most of you can probably guess what books they are, but that's to come later. All right, the next prompt is, what book made me feel good? Is that what it like made me feel happy? I don't really read a lot of books that are sunshine and rainbows. I prefer the murder, deceit, manipulation, and just awful characters. That's the kind of books I prefer to read. But there's a few that have made me happy. And number 1, this is not a shocker. You're all gonna be like, duh, is Heartstopper. Like, I'm sorry, it made me giddy. I was like under the blanket, just like hee hee, smiling and just excited, and just like those butterflies you get when you have a crush. This book will give you that, unless you're like, I don't know, just not into it. But for me, it worked. And I was nervous that the whole graphic novel style of telling a story wasn't gonna work for me. And for the first maybe 20 to 30 pages, I was kind of like, this isn't for me. But then all of a sudden I was just like giggling and excited. And the Netflix show is so good. So yeah, if you want to feel good, I would definitely pick up Heartstopper. It's just, you could be having a terrible day and just pick this book up and just feel warm and fuzzy, even for someone who never feels warm and fuzzy. Another book that I'm gonna answer is I Kiss Cheryl Wheeler, which is another young adult book. I don't read young adult books, and I don't like young adult books, but this book also made me kind of happy. Yeah, I mean, not so much as Heartstopper, but there's parts of this book that I just thought were so endearing. I loved all the queer characters and just all the really in-depth characters for a young adult book. Some people are not liking this book. They find it boring, which I get because I normally find young adult books really boring. But this worked for me and it did make me happy. So this is another one that I'm gonna say made me happy. But other than that, most of the books I read this year, happy is not the emotion I was going for. Most beautiful book I bought this year or received. By beautiful, I'm assuming they mean the cover, and that's what I'm gonna go with because I think that's so much more fun. My answer is going to be, I have a few books, so let's get, I love, it's just like, sometimes I'll buy a book even though I know I'm not gonna read it because I think it's pretty. Is that bad? Probably. My first answer is gonna be The Magnolia Palace. This was the book of the month this year, and just like, look how beautiful it is. Like, I don't know, I love like the purplish pink, you know, whatever this is. I don't know if it's like a mansion, a palace maybe. I haven't read this book. I'm gonna read this book, but I haven't read it yet. But yeah, I do, I think this cover is beautiful. I do love a blue and yellow. I think this color combination is just my favorite color combination. I think like my little Reading with Matthew logo is blue and yellow. So I love just the color matches right here. Another answer is I love these Sarah J. Maas books. Like this is super nerdy, like fantasy covers, but look how beautiful that is. Like, come on. Is this not the most beautiful cover you've ever seen? So yeah, while I probably haven't, you know, I don't know when I'm gonna finish this, it's still a very pretty cover. But those are the most beautiful books that I got this year. Okay, last question. I'm excited for it, but I'm also very nervous for it. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? And I am making a pact to you, YouTube, that I will read A Little Life this year. This book has probably been on my shelf since March of when like COVID hit, because that's when I started watching YouTube videos and buying books and hoarding books like a crazy person. This has been on my shelf since then, and everyone's read it. It's a masterpiece. Apparently it's gonna make me cry and depressed. Part of the reason I haven't read it is because it's so freaking long. Second reason I haven't read it is because everyone says it is the saddest book that you will ever read, and you will be depressed after, and it will take some time to recover. You will be in like a reading slump because it's just gonna take a lot out of me. And I don't know if I have the maturity or like the level of emotions to give to a book yet.
I'm not mature enough for this.
But I will make this promise. I will read this book. I will vlog it, but it's not gonna be one of my vlogs where I like, you know, do my little vlog where I talk about it, then like go out drinking with friends, because I have a feeling that's just not gonna work for this book, because I'm gonna be crying, and then well, maybe actually I will do that. I'll just be like taking shots because I'll be sad. But I promise, I'm thinking when it gets a little bit colder, when my seasonal depression hits, will be a good time for this book. But I promise, I will read this book this year, and I will report back. I will try to vlog it. I'm excited to read it, but I'm also absolutely terrified. Maybe I'll get one of my friends to read it with me in a buddy read so that we can like suffer together. If you want to read it with me, let me know in the comments and we can read it together. Maybe I'll get a few of us to read it together who haven't read it yet, so that we can all talk about it and whatnot. That sounds like a cool idea. All right, that is the end of the book tag. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love filming videos like this where I just get to talk about books, be dumb, be silly, and it's my first time doing it. I'm very excited. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my book selections, and I will see you guys in another video soon.
Stay